Welcome to the Aligned Life Podcast by yours truly, Dr. Tiffany. How about we get out that magnifying glass and look at every part of your life? The awesome, the suck, and everything in between. There's so much beauty in you. Stop being afraid of what isn't good enough and let's double down on what is together. It's about your truth and your life, aligned. Hey guys, welcome back to the Aligned Life Podcast with moi. Today we have Amy DuBois. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
I'm going to share my story about Amy first, and then we're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about transformation. We're going to talk about habits that she has brought into her life to make big changes, really, and to make a bigger impact than she was making prior. So we have a lot of awesome stuff coming, but I'm going to first share Amy through the lens of Tiff. Gabby and Callan played high school basketball together. That's how we met. So that was her freshman year, Gabby's junior year. So that was 5 years ago only. Gosh, I feel like Amy is one of my closest friends. I feel like I've known her and John and the kids forever. So we met on a road trip to Minneapolis for USA women's soccer team. Callan plays soccer. And the first text that came through from her was, hey, do you mind if Callan goes to Minneapolis with us? And I was like, well, I might want to go. And I'm sure she's like, oh, crazy lady.
Nope, I'm usually up for anything. So that worked for me.
So just like anything, the best place to talk is in the car because you can't get out. It's like if you want to trap your kids to have conversations, we know that we need to do it in the car. And so you learn a lot about somebody on a 4-hour ride and figure out what they like and what they don't like and all of the things that you learn to love and respect from people who have differences, right? But I remember it was on the way home. We were talking about work and I just asked the question, why are you still doing what you're doing? And it was a whole host of BS excuses. I mean, I wasn't going to tell you that because I didn't know you that well then.
Yes, you started pushing from that point forward. Yes, I do remember the uncomfortable questioning of myself and then just start talking nervously to fill the space and make it go away.
Yes, make it go away. Make the uncomfortable go away. Yep. I don't want to talk about this. This makes my stomach twirl. I'm not really sure, but this is how Amy was. Eternal optimist. Yes, positive Polly, but thought that doing what you said you're going to do till the end was your job. Yeah. That was your role and you committed to it. So you're going to fulfill it. And in that part, you forgot how it actually all felt, right? It didn't feel that good. You weren't sure what didn't feel that good. And it was all really scary. So you like consistency and you like stability. I mean, in that stage of your life, you did.
Oh, yes.
And so the changes that have happened in you since then, especially in the last 1 to 2 years, I'd say probably.
Yes, definitely.
Have been a grounding of sorts, maybe. Not as like when you're nervous, you just talk like this. And because what happens when you think like that and do that is you kind of step out of your body and you step into all the old beliefs and old habits and old thoughts that you can't do it and you're not good enough. And now I'm going to validate why I'm not doing that by all of the things. We're going to talk about in the whole storyline, the last 6 months probably, but please understand that when we talk about her story, transformation evolves over time. So when we talk about what has happened in the last 6 months of making some big moves, taking really big risks that you didn't know you were even able to. No, I know you didn't, but you just did it because you had a guiding light, for lack of a better word. You had what you knew you were moving towards, which you did not have 5 years ago.
Right.
That is the biggest difference. Now, that shining light and guiding light, guys, doesn't just appear. Like the lighthouse doesn't just appear. You have to continue to walk towards it. We're going to talk about the things she did to walk towards that light. And so when it looked like sudden big moves, it wasn't sudden big moves, but it was the next stage of transformation. Did I say that part right? Kind of?
Absolutely. That's exactly right. It just all starts with not even a light as much as just like a fleck. It's tiny. And you just have to be open enough to wonder, be curious about it, right?
Yeah. Wonder. Be curious, to not be afraid to feel what that might feel like.
Yeah.
Because 5 years ago, you were not open to feeling what that could feel like. So I pushed. She's like, okay, Tiff, we just need to stop talking about this now. Okay. To be continued.
It's the weekend. I don't talk about work on the weekend. Why do you bring that in here? It's not fun.
Okay. So can you just share your story, or like when the big leap happened in your work and in your personal life and in your identity and in who you knew you were? What happened and what did you do?
There is the little fleck of curiosity. There's some sort of nudge or intuition that something has to change here. And I can remember I was a hard driver, like a hard driver at work, hard driver at home. My own physical, everything was just like, get it done, get it done, get it done. And I literally would like run into the grocery store sometimes, not just walk, but run into the grocery store to get it done faster. Everything just needed to be faster, faster, faster. So I can remember thinking, New Year's resolution, maybe I'll do yoga at some point. Like, because I acknowledge that I am too high strung for myself and for people around me. It's too much. And while I could get remarkable amounts of things done, it was missing some of that joy and happiness that comes when you're in the moment. And so I knew that I needed something like yoga or something, but I was like, oh, who has time for yoga? I have to do my intense workout because I mean, yoga's not a workout. And at some point I just was like, I just have to start something. So I was curious about yoga. Mm-hmm. So I tried that. And then that led to more exploration around, oh, okay, what does it mean to sit here? Oh, I don't know. I can't sit here quietly. Like that is, what are you getting done when you sit here quietly? It was so polar opposite of my life to date. You know what I mean? And so I just started sort of exploring some of that and what I thought was completely out of character, but I was curious about it. I'm starting to kind of explore that. And then I'm doing some reading. I'm picking up some authors, starting with like a Gabrielle Bernstein, who's a little bit lighter. And then I'm going a little bit like, oh, that's interesting. It's a different way of thinking about things. And then going into like an Eckhart Tolle, who is really deep and really just finding little nuggets or little pieces that were so, again, with that. So that fleck became like a flame, became a little bit more of a fire. Every little thing that I would do to be curious and explore, it just let that lead me a little bit further down the road, right? And so that's starting to happen. And then I just have this life-changing hit the brick wall moment, right? So up until this point, I am holding down a day job with benefits and I'm responsible in my family because my husband's entrepreneurial. And so somebody's got to be the responsible. Total martyr syndrome here. And I'm kind of bitter about it at times, if I'm honest. And I look back at that. I didn't think about that in that way at that time, but oh, sure, you get to go just, live your dream. And I'll just sit here and work the day job and and he is busting his butt.
Absolutely.
So there is no, he is working 7 days a week. I'm just over here martyr, right? So that is happening. He's doing his thing and it's not working. It's not successful. It's not going well. And now it's hurting us personally. Our relationship is challenged. Our finances are challenged. And the martyr is now pissed.
Absolutely.
Yes. What the heck? I'm sacrificing all of this for your success, but I would have been happy to claim it as my own, I'm sure as well, So the point is we are at this really dark moment or what could have been. It was one of the worst days of my life. I had to just sit down in a chair. I was driving. Okay, this has to get done. This has to get done. It was in super survival mode. And then I realized that I just have to crash. I just have to sit here and observe all of this awfulness that I'm feeling right now. I just have to feel it because it's awful,
Yep.
I'm not kidding. I sat down in my office here that I'm in right now and I just cried. I did the whole feel it and dig deep and let it all and it was just this is, it was hard and awful. But after that was released, I just sat quiet. Eventually it stops. You're dehydrated. Can't do it anymore. So I sat there. And as I was sitting there in the quiet and not doing anything, I think just breathing at this point, right? I lived through feeling all of that. And then I heard a voice that said, it's time to leave. get up, it's time to lead. And I didn't question it. And that's unusual for me.
Yep.
That's totally unusual for me to not just be like, well, what do you mean? Lead where? In what capacity? At my home? I am already leading. Like the whole ego talk.
Yep.
That will naturally come into your world because it's just always there trying to protect you. And my ego was on hyperdrive up until I sat down in that chair, just like danger, danger, danger. But the point that I just surrendered in that chair was the point where the message that I needed to hear in that moment could come through because it had the space to come through.
Mm-hmm.
So that was hard and awesome.
Yep.
And so I got up and I started to just lead. And what I mean by that is I started to say, one of the things that I thought during this period of time was, you can continue to do what you've been doing and you can just continue to expect the same results. And that's not been making you happy. So what are you going to do? You cannot control what other people are doing around you. So all you can do is control how you are going to react to this situation. And I was just sick to death of living that same path over and over and over. So it was absolutely time to lead. That was a transformational moment. That's when I doubled down. That's when I started what I call the power hour each morning to get my head on, right? So I can lead. But up until that point, I had enough curiosity. So I had some of the ability to be aware enough that I had to sit down in that moment. When you wake up in the middle of the night, 3:00 in the morning, and the brain starts like, you should be worrying about this. You better start thinking about this. This could happen, all those things at 3:00 in the morning. And one of the things that Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now is he says, when that happens, when you get that adrenaline spike, it's there to protect you. So look around you. Is there danger that requires you take action in this moment? Then take action. Almost all of the time, there's no danger. There's no physical reason to be in the state that you're in. It's all your mental state. Mm-hmm. So look around you. If there is no emergency, then there's no action to take in that moment. If there's action to take action. That got me through the nights when I was going to, start the hour-long worry session. I just, okay, what's the emergency? What's happening right now? Well, it's 3:00 in the morning. Everyone's sleeping peacefully in my very comfortable home. And everyone's healthy. And so I'm just going to go back to bed. And so that was reassuring in itself just to have that sort of ability. And what that did for me is to say, wow, if I was able to tap into that, I know I need more of that. I need more of that education. I need more of that information that will help me to surrender when I need to surrender, to pay attention to my ego, to learn when to take action, when to not, right? Mm-hmm. As I said, that's when I started listening to that message and then started each morning with the power hour.
For the busy mind, the stressed mind, the adrenaline brain, the fix-it personality, like I always say that personalities are always meant to change, really, because as we go through life and as we value different things, the more balanced we become, and that balance is who you are in different situations. So how did you rewrite your personality of being the doer, being the fixer, being busy? You were involved in everything. You led everything.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting because you are a positive poly, yet in those busynesses, you weren't even allowing yourself to sit in the suck. And a lot of it sucked. So I think it's so interesting. Anybody who knows Amy knows that before it was like, and we're not going to talk about that because that makes me feel uncomfortable. And if there's no energy given to the negative, then everything is positive. And there was one moment I'm like, whoa. But you can't have joy without feeling the other stuff. I don't know if it's the law of duality, but we become balanced when we can feel it all. And now we know what this feels like. Now we can know what joy and connection and purpose feels like, where you were avoiding that for so long. So when you crashed and you were quiet, that's when everything just percolates up to the top. And you're like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to get through this lake when only my eyeballs are above water?
Yeah.
So can you talk about how that identity that you lived in for 40 years changed? Was it truly power hour, meditation, prayer, allowing that quiet to be your wisdom for your whole life? How did that shift?
Absolutely. That power hour, the messages that come through, the paying attention, the opening your mind to what comes through when you're quiet. I have never been quiet my whole life. So for me, it was a dramatic transformation in that way, but I'm always about action. I've always been about action. So when I could see that I took right action, when I let the quiet in, and I'm about efficiency, I'm about action. These are natural things that align with me. When I could see that I could take right action, when I allowed that quiet in, that just made me crave it all the more. In order to lead, I need to start quiet, listen, which is not something I've done well. Somebody once said that meditation is listening and prayer is speaking. And I spent my first 45 years of my life in absolutely praying every night. I was spiritual in that kind of way, but it was just protect my family, do this, do that. Total fear talking, total fear talk. My prayers were fear-based talking to God. Please help me. So in my meditation, it's like, here I am. I'm listening. I'm open. I want to hear. And then I do still end in prayer, but my prayers are even dramatically different in that they are gratitude. And not gratitude because, well, that's how you should always start a prayer. It's not because that's the rule or whatever. It's gratitude out of sincerity. There is sincere gratitude there. And I want to see the miracles you intend for me today. It is a transformational spiritual journey for me to have given that space and start to listen. And so much was my fear and so many of my decisions in my life now that I am able to have a little perspective and I look back, so many of my decisions and actions were fear-based. So when I could start seeing that, and that's all it is, I still make fearful decisions because I am human and I'm growing and I'm learning. I'm able to catch it more frequently now that I'm tuned into that's a fear thought that's making you do that.
Yeah.
What is somebody going to think about me if I take that action? Even as we're talking right now, like, oh, she said spirituality. What are people going to think about that? It's okay.
Yep.
This is my journey. This is where I'm at now. And that's okay. So not taking action from fear has been part of that transformation. But again, you have to have the space to see that fear and then call it out,
right,
so that you can not take action from there.
I hope you're enjoying this week's episode. I want to take a moment to invite you to my private Facebook group, Results Unleashed, a space created for you to get results, whether in your personal life, wealth, business, health, marriage, or all of it. This will be valuable so that you can win at life. And did you know that you can actually win at all areas of your life? Join us at Results Unleashed. Back to the show. I just did a training in the academy about emotional intelligence and how much more important it is than IQ. And the foundation of EQ is awareness. And so understanding what you feel, why you feel it, allowing yourself to continue to feel it, and then being able to control how you respond and how you express yourself to everyone else around you all the time. That is the foundation. Whether it's meditation, prayer, yoga, going for a walk, journaling, it's a means of connecting to your body, to source, to God, to whatever gives you peace and grace in this moment and aligns you to the who you need to be. And now, after that, then what do you need to do, right? Yeah. You are the busybody, not aware, just getting stuff done, not aware, not connected to what your big true north is.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the difference in what I see in you. Then when I say grounded and connected, that is the difference. So the intention behind everything you're doing, you're not doing less. You're not getting any less done, probably more with more ease, but all connected as we connect all these dots, but connected to true north, whatever that meaning for life is, because that's the life's game. The whole thing is life's work, not what your goal is today or what your goal is this month. But you started making decisions based on what you know you had to do to live your life's work, right?
Yeah. My entire purpose in life, although I can see that now, I couldn't see it then, was protect myself, protect my family, was fear-based, was like, I need to do more, to be more successful, to protect my family, to protect myself. It was just absolutely fear-based. When the message came through in my darkest hour, it's time to lead. That's when I had to lead with light, which means space, so the light can shine through you, right? So that's when that shift really started taking shape, was it's time to lead. Again, the busybody would have said, well, I am already leading. I'm leading in so much. I don't want to lead so much. No, you're taking action. You're spinning your wheels. You're just, where are you going? All you're getting is more work.
Yep.
That's what I was accomplishing. I was getting more responsibilities, more work, more, and less out of all of that.
Yeah.
So
especially once we start to like shift and become clear in what we're meant to do. When we start to recognize that what we used to do brought more joy than what it's doing now, that is the flag. One of them. I mean, there's a lot of flags when we're aware, but if we continue to do more of what we always like to do and it's not giving you more joy, then hello, blinky light, flashy light. And then I would say that's when it's time to talk to that light, talk to that feeling now, talk to that entity of what that is, because our body is brilliant. It will tell you. You get quiet and you will be given what you need to take action. I'm an action taker like you are, but it needs to be purposeful and intentional and guided by whatever you deem you need to be guided by.
The beautiful thing for me is when I start my day with meditation, and it's every day. There was one day last week, in fact, where I was like, I just got busy and I didn't do it. And I'm like, my whole day was
scattered.
Scattered is exactly the word. And so mid-afternoon, I was like, why is today so out of control for me? This feels like my old life. Like, why is that? And I was like, I did not start my day with my power hour. I got part of it done, but I didn't get all of it done. Yeah. And for me, that meditation prayer, 15 minutes, that's all it is. That is when I surrender. I surrender my day for whatever action I need to take that day.
That's amazing.
So in that 15 minutes, of course, the ego is there saying, okay, well, you should get this done, this done, this done, this done, this done today. And then I have to be like, quiet. No, I have to listen for what is most important to get done today. Now that I own my own project management consulting business, what's interesting is I have less concrete plans. I have big picture for sure. But what I don't have is like, these 17 things need to get done today by this time, no matter what. I don't have that same sort of detailed plan. What I have is the big picture. And I know that the day will unfold the way it needs to unfold. If I start with my power hour, if I start with the intention of being open, then whatever needs to come through and be heard that day, if I'm open, I'll hear it.
Yep.
And then I take action from there. And that gets me to that big picture over time because I'm listening.
And you have a vision. You didn't have a vision before. Right. You wake up and you get the kids off and you hope their day goes good and you go to school, or you go to work, they go to school, you go to a basketball game, you go to some kind of game afterwards, right?
I can just see pictures like flashing before my eyes. I went to work one day with two different pairs of shoes. One was a heel, one was a flat. You would think that at some point I would have... The kids were little. I had very sleep deprived. I just kept kicking the snow off the heel, thinking that was my...
Oh my gosh.
Thinking that was a chunk of something on my foot. It couldn't possibly be that I had two different shoes on until I got the kids there. And I looked down and I was like, I do not even have the right pair of shoes on today. These don't match. These are not even the same variety. It seems unreal to me now. I mean, obviously, but that is the state that I was in. Like, whatever shoes were closest to the door when I had the car seat and the other kid by the hand and we were rushing out the door was what was on my feet. And I was already on to the next 75 things that were going to happen in the next hour and a half. And that's the way it was going to be.
Yep. So, and you sustained that for a really long
Yes,
time.
I did.
Right? So like, think of how resilient the brain and body actually is for not giving it what it really needed to survive. Yes, it just had what it took to survive. But you were in that state for 15 to 20 years, right?
Yeah.
20, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, longer.
Thinking of how much the body can actually do, how much the brain can adapt.
Yeah.
Now is your time for being the visionary and now having other people be your integrators and implementers. Like that's what you're paving the path for. By the way, if you didn't know that, that is what you're paving the path for.
Yes.
So before we end, I just want to talk about your end of day practice, your better than yesterday practice. I think this is so good because there's number one, reflection, which I think is one of the most important parts of any accomplishment ever. But then there is an achievement, right? Of like, okay, yes, great. No, So can you just describe what that looks like? Then you can
Yes.
share about like how people get a hold of you and all the good stuff.
Yes. So the main idea here, the big vision for my life right now is to lead, but to get better every single day. Every day, the intention is to get better, a little better, just a little better. Like if we think we want to transform ourselves and we have this massive idea, some major thing, some, as you like to say, 10x goal that you're working towards, if we just think about that and only that, it can feel totally overwhelming, right? Mm-hmm. So you should have that vision for that 10x. You should.
Yep.
But the idea for every day is that today I am going to be better than I was yesterday. That's it. I'm going to do something, one thing, at least one thing to do better, be better than I was yesterday. And so at the end of my day, so that's my intention. And at the end of the day, I'm asking myself, did I do something today to be better than I was yesterday? And if the answer is no, because that's truthfully, some days are no. But if the answer is no, I sure as hell am not going to wake up the next day with that same intention and have the answer be no at the end of the second day. Mm-hmm. What that does for me is it keeps me grounded in that my goal is to be a little better every single day. And it takes less than 30 seconds to do something to be a little better. And when we take those little steps, especially if you start your day with that intention, what happens is you do that one thing for 30 seconds and then you're doing this next thing for 5 minutes. And then you're doing this other thing for an hour. And pretty soon, these little actions have led to transformational changes. And that's exactly how I got from 2 years ago in this chair, crying my eyes out, to today, feeling like I have a vision that I am leading with light and where I'm at, because I have that intention and there's action every day. And if there is a day there is no action, then you just let that go.
So amazing. You have to just let it go.
And start again tomorrow.
Shake the Etch-a-Sketch, clear the canvas, and restart.
The thing is, you have tomorrow, right? You always have tomorrow. And if you are intentional and if you are asking yourself that question, you don't answer no twice. You really don't.
Nope.
If you happen to, that's okay too. Just let it go. Start the third day, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. I think the reflection part of our lives are highly missing. We are so in the hamster wheel, the Groundhog's Day, the over and over and over, same thing every day. And it isn't full of intention or joy or purpose. And so if you reflect on your life for that day or that week or that year or that life, and you look back and you're like, wow, I am totally made for more here. I need to get back in that driver's seat and connect with all of who I am to create what I want to create. And today is the day. And then that is your reflection and your gratitude and your mindfulness every single day. And it, like you said, it doesn't take long. It's 15 minutes. So many people will say like, oh my gosh, I can't even meditate for 2 minutes because I start thinking. Well, the idea is that it's a habit you have never built. It's something that you have never done before. You're not going to be, quote, good at it. So there are going to be things that trickle through. I always just try to remind you, if you're starting new, that meditating quiet time is going to be loud in the beginning, and give yourself some grace to know that intention sometimes is all it takes. Like set your timer on your phone, set it for 15 minutes and just see what happens. See if you can feel anything. If you feel different, it's like magic.
Yeah, it really is. As far as meditation, one piece of advice I have for meditation is if I wake up to my fearful voice, which happens at times, I sometimes have to do a guided meditation. Always just try to quiet, obviously, and let them pass without judgment and all of that. If I wake up and my ego is so loud, I know that I just may need a guided meditation that day, and I just start there. And that helps me to, again, get grounded in the breath and get grounded in where I need to go. So I just need maybe a more active listening day that day. And I think it's being aware of where you're at too. The thing I think that is hard, it's hard for me, is when I have those beautiful meditations where I feel like, oh, I know what I need to do today, you know, and there are days that just lead you to the next day with like motivation to keep going. Mm-hmm. Then the next day might suck. It might just suck. It might just be like, wow, I'm so like nothing came through. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what? You know, you were quiet. You sat there quiet. Your physical body needs that. Your mind needs that. All of that needs that quiet. And you allowed it to come through. So good for you.
Yep. And when we release the need to be outcome oriented is when we actually step into present moment. Because mindfulness is not ever outcome oriented. You're always getting gifts, whether they come through at that moment that are conscious or not. But it's also retraining your subconscious, which is something we don't even know is happening in that moment. It's just choosing you. I mean, investing in you, committing to you every single day. I think just universally puts it out there that you are ready for what is to come, right?
Yep. And that is when you see those everyday miracles. You start seeing things that I never would have saw before because I was too busy racing, literally running with the wrong shoes on to wherever. But those things now, because I have a little space, I'm able to see them. And when I see them, I celebrate them. If you see that whatever that sign is for you, whatever that little blessing is for you that day, if you see it and own it as yours, that's a gift given to you. If you just take that in, you receive more of it. You're in tune with it. You're looking for it. You're seeing it. You're receiving it, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that. So can you just share a little bit about how people do get a hold of you in your coaching consulting business? So if anybody wants to work with you, just share how to do that.
Absolutely. So I started my own consulting business. It's Birch Consulting, the website, because I am the project. And I consider myself a project management, a practice. So something I continue to work at every single day. I named my website The Birch Project. So it's thebirchproject.com. The reason for the birch is because the birch is like one of the most resilient trees. It's the first to grow back after a forest fire. So for me, when I sat in that chair, I was on fire. And that regrowth and that rebirth happened after that moment when I was at my low. And so I think for me that I'm a tree hugger. I absolutely love nature. I love being with trees. I feel energy when I'm in nature. And so for me, the birch just honors that spiritual sort of one with nature and rebirth, renewal, that kind of thing. So thebirchproject.com is where you can find me. I would love to connect with anyone.
I didn't know that story, by the way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. That's part of the wisdom that came through on those mornings.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
Thanks for sharing your heart, my friend.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening and following the Aligned Life podcast with Dr. Tiffany. If you love this and can think of anyone who needs to hear about it, would you mind sharing with them? Find me online at drtiffanyjohnson.com, where you can find out more about my memberships, courses, mentoring, and any upcoming events. To learn more about chiropractic for you and your family, go to htchiro.com and follow our social pages. I can't wait to connect with you soon, and until then, be you, be aligned.